Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 2, the Constitution, Part 2. All right, so in this section, we're going to talk about the separation of powers, right? Within the Constitution itself, it spells out the separation of powers between the three branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch, right? So those are our three branches of government: the legislative branch, executive branch, and judicial branch. And that there's separation of powers as spelled out within the Constitution itself. All right, Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution says, all legislative powers herein shall be granted and vested in Congress of the United States. And Congress shall consist of two bodies, the Senate and the House of Representatives. All right, so there's one Congress. All legislative powers are invested in Congress, and Congress has two houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Article 1, Section 2 deals with the House of Representatives. Right, the House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every 2 years. Right, so if you're a member of the House of Representatives, you have to run for election every 2 years, and to be there's certain qualifications that you need to have in order to be a member of the House of Representatives. And those qualifications basically are that you're 25 years of age, a citizen of the United States for no less than 7 years, and inhabit the state in which you were elected. All right, so you have to live in the state or be residents or domiciled in the state in which you are elected. All right, so that's the qualifications of the House of Representatives. And the House of Representatives have specific powers besides drafting legislation. They elect the Speaker of the House, right? And this is important because the Speaker of the House is third in line to the presidency. You have the President, the Vice President, and then the Speaker of the House. So if something happens to the President, the Vice President becomes President. But if something happens to both the President and the Vice President, then the Speaker of the House then becomes the President. And the House of Representatives also has the sole power of impeachment. All right, we saw that during the Trump administration. I think the House of Representatives impeached him twice. All right, he wasn't convicted because that's up to the Senate. All right, so, and that's where we go to Article 1, Section 3, which discusses the Senate, right? And the Senate is different, right? There's two senators from each state, whereas the House of Representatives is based on population, how many members you have. In the Senate, there are only two from each state, and each senator has one vote. And not like the House of Representatives, you're elected for 2 years. In the Senate, you're elected for a 6-year term. Okay, House of Representatives 2. Senate 6 years. To qualify to be a member of Senate, you have to be at least 30 years of age, a citizen of the United States for no less than 9 years, and of course, like the House of Representatives, inhabit the state in which you were elected. Right? You need to be resident or domiciled in that state in which you were elected. All right, and the Senate also has specific powers too. Interesting thing about the Senate: the Vice President of the United States is also the President of the Senate. So if there's a split, if there's a tie, because we have 50 states, and each state has two senators, so we have 100 votes, right? So let's say it's a 50-50. The President of the Senate or the Vice President decides the vote to break that tie. Okay, so in the Senate, the Vice President of the United States is also the President of the Senate and can cast a deciding vote in case of a tie. All right, and the Senate is the trier of fact for impeachment purposes, right? The House of Representatives has their role in the impeachment process, but then it goes to the Senate for actually trying the person and saying that they should be impeached from their office. All right, Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution. This is the executive branch. All right, this deals with the president. The executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States. All right, and this is in the U.S. Constitution. Remember, in the Articles of Confederation, there was no president. All right, yeah. But in the U.S. Constitution, drafted subsequently to the Articles of Confederation, per Article 2, Section 1, the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States. And the first president, George Washington. And for the executive branch, a term of 4 years. Right, House of Representatives 2, Senate 6, executive branch splits the middle. 4 years. This isn't within the Constitution, but it has been decided now, post Roosevelt years, that a president can't be elected for no more than 2 terms. All right, and presidents are not elected by popular vote. They are elected by an electoral college system. right? Which is very convoluted and interesting, especially in today's times. But popular vote does not elect a president. Electoral college elects a president. All right, to be a president, you need to be a natural-born citizen, at least 35 years of age, 14 years a resident within the United States, and mentally competent. All right, so I'll put that last one in there just for your own pleasure, basically. So you have something to think about. All right. The oath of office, which I always find interesting, when they get sworn in to be president of the United States. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the offices of the president of the United States and will, with the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of the United States, right? So the president has to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. It's in the Constitution that they need to preserve and protect it. All right. So the executive branch, the president is also the commander-in-chief of the armed services. He or she has the power to grant reprieves and pardons, and with the consent of Congress can enter into treaties with other nations, and can also appoint judges, ambassadors, and other officers that represent the United States. All right. Interesting thing about the Section 4 of Article 2, Section 4, the president, vice president, and all of officers of the United States shall be removed, and this comes back to this impeachment thing, from office for impeachment and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. All right, so shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. What does all that mean? That's an interesting in a political space to convict somebody for high crimes and misdemeanors. Politically, in a court of law, that's different than doing it in a political process. All right, enough on that. Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution, this deals with the judicial branch, the judiciary, right? The judicial branch, the judicial powers of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, right? The 9 justices that sit on the Supreme Court, and other inferior courts as the Congress may establish from time to time. All right, the judges of all these courts shall hold their office during good behavior, right? They also can be impeached, and at times of service, it's a life for life, right? They're going to be compensated and shall not be dismissed during the continuance of their office, right? So once you're appointed, it's an appointment for life, right? The judicial power extends to all cases in law and equity arising under the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority. All right, so judicial power has a right to review all constitutional issues, all laws in the United States, make sure that they are constitutional, and treaties that the president, with the consent of Congress, makes with other nations. The Supreme Court itself is an interesting body. It's 9 seats. There are 9 justices that sit on the Supreme Court. Odd number, makes sense. There's also a Chief Justice, and like I said, they're appointed for life. All right, so that's a brief review of the separation of powers. Any questions, comments, or criticisms, please feel free to reach out to me, and talk soon. Thank you.